Motherfuck, noise. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Noise. Smoking weed, doing coke, drinking beers, rolling fatties, smoking blunts. Who smokes the blunts? We smoke the blunts, rolling blunts and smoking. Can we get a nickel bag? $15, little man. Put that shit in my hand. If that money doesn't show, then you owe me. Oh, my jungle love. Oh. I think I wanna know ya. Dang. Welcome back, all you hitchers and drifters, to another episode of the United States of Paranormal podcast. It's me, your host, Logan Cothran. Sitting next to me, my heterosexual life mate, Matt Frisby.
AKA Matty Fresh.
Matty Fresh, is that what you're going by now? Matty Fresh. And next to Matty Fresh, the able to his Kane, Boze.
Wait, so I get to murder him?
No, Kane murders Abel.
Oh.
He was smiling when he thought about it, too. That's the fucking worst part.
Joke's on you.
It's good to be back in the studio. We've been out. We were out for some Easter activities and all that jazz. How was your week, Matty?
My week was fantastic. Out of stress and impulsivity, I purchased a CPAP machine at like midnight last night, to which I have no power cable for. Aside from that, spent some quality time with the family, with the kid. Got our floors redone. Now my living room is a properly adequate place for scary movies and the like.
Yeah, I was there today. It looks really nice. I've never gone through your fucking side door before. You see your little glass.
We had a couch
door.
in front of it before.
Yeah, I've never been able to.
We originally kept it blocked off, and when they were done doing the repairs, I was like, you know what? Let's leave this open. I like having it accessible. I like being able to prop it open and having the kid run in and out.
So that means both you and me went there today, and both went through the front door instead of through the back.
No, he went through the back door.
I went to the back. I went through the side glass door. There's a side glass door there.
Yeah, he's talking about the door.
Side glass. Okay,
yeah, the door that goes directly into my living room.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you're the weirdo that went through the front door.
Yeah, I don't
Look,
think, yeah, no,
the road was busy, and I didn't feel like trying to interfere with traffic by backing in.
You're also playing with your microphone.
Stop that. How was your week, Brandon? Fucking, you were just making them. You see all that dead air he's just putting out there with his long pauses. They can't see the exasperated look on your face when you sit there and think about it.
Or the dead look in my eyes.
You gotta paint them. You gotta go back to episode 0. You gotta paint them that humble picture of what's going on.
Yeah. Listen, let me help you out here, right? There's a trick you can do. You can just lie and say you did something interesting and that your life isn't a big bucket of depression. A big KFC extra crispy bucket of depression.
But that's against brand.
Yeah, I know they can't see the lack of spark of life in my eyes, or how there's nothing to look forward to anymore.
Ironically, while he's saying that, he has like a little smile on his face while he's talking about it. So I think he kind of enjoys it. So at this point, it's like a sadist thing.
Yeah. Also, he says there's nothing to look forward to. At the same time, 2 minutes ago, he was like, hey, Batman's on HBO Max. So we're getting some very mixed messages here, as always. So I guess that would be on brand.
Yeah, let's just put it like this. It's getting hot, and we're doing mandatory overtime.
Fun stuff.
You always quit your job, find a better job. Or go work at McDonald's. That's always fun.
But see, I've started realizing that the American medical healthcare system is expensive, and I have diabetes. So,
Diabetes.
Well, on the note, anxiety and all that jazz, it's Maddie's first episode today. How are you feeling about presenting?
Oh, I'm stoked. I've been researching this story for like the past 3 weeks, and it's taken an interesting twist and turn where I can't wait to present it to you, the audience, and to you two fuckers.
Abrupt and uncalled for, but
That's right. This week, Daddy Matty takes the wheel.
So is it Matty Fresh? Is it Matt Frisby or is it Daddy Matty?
It's whatever the moment needs, but not what it deserves.
I need to not say Daddy Matty for the rest of the day. That's what I need.
Can I get out of this car, please?
Nope, child locks are on.
Speaking of the car,
my favorite tunes. Hope you like Doja Cat.
Oh, no, she does really good.
As we take a drive down to San Jose, California. Before I announce what the story is and everything, I want to ask you guys, have either of you ever been to California, or has there ever been anything in particular about California that you've wanted to check out, given the chance to travel to California?
Oh, absolutely. I would like to go to the oldest big boy restaurant left in the United States, which is in California. That's really about it for me. Like now, the trip to California, I'd like to participate in because I've always wanted to go to Nevada and Area 51 and all that jazz.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, I'm not itching to go to the land of one earthquake away from half of it schlepping off into the fucking ocean. It's either on fire or earthquake. So I mean, I'm good.
Boze, what about you?
Yeah, I'd be out there for the food. That the actor's name.
Talking about Trejos?
Yeah, Trejos. I want to check out Trejos, especially after our playthrough of Fallout 5.
That was not Fallout. It was Far Cry.
I was about to say California's probably got a bunch of those like good like Food Network guides and stuff, but then I remember that a lot of them are actually set up on the Strip in Las Vegas than they are in California.
Oh yeah. Well, I did recently travel to Los Angeles, not San Jose, but Los Angeles. I did go to Trejos, and that was the best barbacoa I've ever had, ever. Also, while I was there, I visited 2 restaurants. One was called The Serving Spoon. One was called Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. And here's what I learned while I was out there. If you go into a restaurant and you're the only white guy, the food's going to be awesome. The food's going to be some of the best food you've ever had.
I get what you're saying. Like 2 of my regular places is Big John's, which is fried chicken, and that's the case. And same with Las Salsitas, 2 places that I swear by.
All I'm saying is white people don't know flavor.
Come on now. I cook all the time and I know flavor.
Look, that's not a judgment on all white people. Just the majority. There's obviously going to be exceptions.
Hot button topics.
I don't think this is hot. I don't think this is hot button. I think food is something very important to all of us, and I think we can lean into that stereotype that white people think mayonnaise is as spicy as it gets.
Oh, God, son of a bitch.
We're also in Cajun country. Are you going to say Cajuns don't know
Cajun people white people? Cajun people are their own breed.
Let's get into the spooky. Let's talk about haunted places or demons.
One last thing I want to say about California is while I was there, I decided to take a trip up to the Griffith Observatory. I ended up having to hike halfway up the mountain, and I learned a great deal about myself and how out of shape.
I wish I could have recorded that breathing.
It took 3 stops to catch my breath to reach the top of that mountain, and it was very heartbreaking. But with that,
heartbreaking.
We're gonna take
his heart having a heart attack.
It's rude.
That's hurtful, Mr. Diabetes.
No shit. Glass houses again, guys. Fuck.
So anyway, we're going to take our road trip to San Jose. And in San Jose, I would like to tell you a story. A story of a rifle, a widow, a labyrinth. In allegedly beautiful San Jose, California, lies a house of eclectic design spanning over 160 rooms. All built of fabulous designs inspired by architecture and art found across the world. Europe, Asia, India. But in this beauty lies a labyrinth, filled with stairs leading only to nowhere. Doors leading to steep drops, and the unshakable feeling that someone or something is right behind you. Yes, this week, listeners, I will be your guide on this road trip to the Winchester Mystery House, also known as the house that ghosts built.
Or crazy eccentric billionaire spendthrift.
Yeah. You know, with every ghost story, it could just be this person's crazy story. Now, before I can tell you about the house itself, we need to talk about the gun that won the West. Are either of you particularly familiar with firearms?
The Winchester repeating rifle?
Yes. Yeah. The Winchester repeating rifle. I suppose Winchester Mystery House gives that away. But to give you an idea about the Winchester repeater, before the repeater was a thing, what we had were revolving.
You're talking about the revolving cylinders, like on like a
revolving cylinders, but specifically that fired balls, steel ball, lead ball. And with the construction of the Winchester repeater also came the cartridge design that we still use today for firing bullets. If you don't know, the standard bullet now is actually the bullet itself packed into a cartridge with gunpowder. That way, when it is stricken by a hammer on a rifle or a pistol, it will ignite the gunpowder, launching the bullet forward while the gun ejects the cartridge.
Opposed to the old pack it and pray of the Revolutionary War time where
Oh, exactly.
you jammed it in there and hoped to God it went off and then asked for a timeout while you put another one in and be like, hold on, please.
In a worst case scenario, you would have where you'd go to fire your weapon and you'd get a misfire where that cylinder, the gunpowder would just ignite without firing the ball, and the back pressure from that ignition would ignite all of your other cylinders.
You know what's funny? I was actually watching a TikTok yesterday where a bunch of soldiers were loading up mortar for test firing. They threw one in, it misfired, no one noticed. So they threw another one in.
Oh, no.
It misfired again, and then finally everyone looked and was like, wait. And they were like, misfire, misfire. Everyone gets up and just runs away from the mortar.
Jesus.
So I want to talk about the model 1873 repeater. As I've said, it was one of the first firearms to offer a cartridge design, and it was not necessarily the best gun of its time. It was not the most accurate, but what it did have was firepower, speed of shooting. So you could fire 15 rounds in 60 seconds with this weapon compared to 5 rounds and then a 2-minute reload. Or if you were still using something older, you'd fire 1 round and had a 1-minute reload time. So you could fire 15 rounds in 60 seconds, and your reload was significantly faster with this. And it also offered reliability. So because of the cartridge design, you did not have to worry about backfiring into the rifle and the rest of your rounds going up in smoke as well.
Revolutionized killing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the Model 1873 actually could fire 15 rounds in 60 seconds. That, coupled with its reliability, made it a powerful tool of death and put the Winchester Repeating Rifle Company, started by Oliver Winchester, on the map. This helped to make William Wirt Winchester, son of Oliver Winchester and treasurer of the company, and his wife, Sarah Lockwood Winchester, wealthy. During this time, William and Sarah enjoyed a happy life. The couple visited California on company business, as well as traveled the world on behalf of the company. This would be how Sarah Winchester became accustomed to all of this different art from these different cultures. But like I said, during this time, they had visited California, to which they found the climate to be very acceptable, very casual.
What you're aiming for before central AC was a fucking thing.
Exactly.
Like, the wind's nice here and it doesn't feel like I'm sweating through my clothes.
Winters aren't too cold, summers aren't too hot. Very timid. I'm glad I'm the one editing this.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, no, don't worry about it, man. You're good.
But this really stuck with her. And on June 15th, 1866, Sarah would give birth to Annie Pardee Winchester.
What was her middle name?
Pardee.
Pardee.
Which is Sarah Winchester's maiden name.
Pardee.
Pardee.
That's a bitchin' middle name.
Pardee!
Pardee!
P-A-R-D-E-E.
Okay,
is how
that's
it is
fucking
spelled.
awesome. That's a great middle name.
Is she like related to Andrew WK at all?
Oh man, that's a dated reference right there. Fucking anybody that's not fucking our age is gonna be like, who the fuck is that?
Well,
Hey, he is an ambassador now.
Annie Winchester would not get to appreciate her middle name because tragedy struck.
Oh,
Only 6 weeks later, on July 25th, when she passed away of marasmus.
Oh shit, that was a short party.
Yeah, it's my party and I'll drive I want to.
God
Yeah.
damn it.
So the only child of the Winchester couple passed away at 6 weeks old.
Oof.
Like I said, it was called marasmus, which is apparently a protein disorder that disallows the proper digestion of food, leading to malnourishment.
So I'm assuming she couldn't breastfeed right and process the food the way she needed to
See,
get
they made the
nutrition.
mistake. They named her before year 1.
God damn it, Brandon, shut up.
At this point, the grief-stricken couple moved into the mansion of William's mother and father, Oliver and Jane Winchester. 15 years later, unfortunately, William Winchester himself passed away in March of 1881 of tuberculosis.
Oh, consumption. TB. Not even the scariest version of tuberculosis. I'm not even gonna get into the
Oh my God.
tuberculosis, but it's frightening.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, you didn't think it was the first time I talked to you. for the listeners at home, if you have free time, feel free to Google anal tuberculosis. It's a real thing.
Or don't.
If you want to learn about how you can dive the ass cough, it's real.
Oh God! Is that what we're going to call it now? The ass cough.
I just picture a little anus.
That's one of the biggest medical red flags you could ever have. Is you just sitting in your house and you just hear, you're like, honey, you getting a cold? I'm like, it wasn't my mouth.
Fucking go to your doctor. I got some bad news. You got the ass cough.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. We digress. But I'm serious. The first time I told Boze about this, I was in a Discord with him and I mentioned it, and he thought I was full of shit. He was like, "That's not a thing." Then I just hear him typing on his keyboard, and he's like, "God damn it!" But I digress.
Yes.
It's sad. He died of tuberculosis.
So
but,
at this
that was killing
point,
people left and right back then.
oh yeah, that was very common death back in that day. Not many treatments for tuberculosis. It's said at this time, this is where we start getting into some of the legend of the Winchester house and the family. At this time, Sarah alleged to have visited a psychic that informs her both death of her daughter and husband was caused by angry spirits of those killed by the Winchester repeater, and that she must travel out west. Now, there are two theories about the second part of her instruction. Theory 1 is that this move was part of a plan to appease the spirits. Or, Theory 2, the move was part of a plan to escape the spirits and prevent them from claiming her own life.
Or Theory 3, it was just nice weather. Well, I mean, the spirits must have not been too angry, otherwise they would have gave him the scary tuberculosis. Just saying.
Well, I mean,
I think at that time, all tuberculosis was scary.
so what are the statistics on anal tuberculosis? How many cases of tuberculosis are anal tuberculosis?
A lot. Not a lot at all.
Yeah, I mean, and who says these ghosts are doctors? Just because you're dead doesn't mean you understand about anal tuberculosis.
The ghosts are like, we're mad at him, but we're not that mad.
I mean, if I were to die of anal tuberculosis, you bet your ass I would be a ghost after that.
Yeah, bet your
All right.
ass.
All right, so anal tuberculosis
We're diving into this.
appears less than 1% of
Woo!
individuals.
So you win the lottery if you catch that one.
That's
No,
I'm
no,
good.
not just 1%. 1% of people who catch tuberculosis.
Woo! Stats aren't good. You get that one, you did something wrong.
Yeah.
But yet again, digressing, stepping away from the scary tuberculosis.
So based on this visit, Sarah Winchester moved to San Jose, California in 1886, purchased a 2-story farmhouse with 161 acres, and started what is known as her 38-year building project.
Jesus.
God, do you imagine how much that property's worth nowadays out in California, that many acreage?
Oh yeah, it is probably worth
Think about it. It probably cost her $10 at that time.
You know what? I apologize. I did not write down how much she paid. I read a biography on Sarah Winchester, and it actually does say how much she paid for the property.
Well, just have it like a build your own adventure thing. Like, listeners, if you want to know, Google it. And then let us know at our
I believe it was around $5,000, though, is how much she paid.
Son of a bitch. You know what? I mean, if I was her, I would have just tried to been like, I would have hit up like the governor of California and be like, yo, you want some rifles for the militia or the police force? Like, just let's talk some land. But 5,000.
Yeah. And
I mean, transfer rate back then to now, that was probably a lot.
Yeah, let's actually see. What year was this again?
This was in 1886.
Oh, I bet it's like, oof. The transition rate there has got to be a massive amount. That was big money back then.
Oh yeah,
Big money.
let's see what he comes back with.
I'm just saying he popped with those anal tuberculosis stats a lot quicker than he is with the money transfer rate statistics.
Well, they were already in a tab.
Yeah, he was already looking at it. Why is my ass coughing?
At first, I thought it was haunted.
We might be the only podcast to ever discuss anal tuberculosis.
You know what? So the
I don't know if that's a
inflation
selling point.
So the inflation rate is about 3,000%.
God damn.
So that property, so that much money, $5,000 today would be $152,000.
Still not crazy though.
Right? You could buy some. Let me tell you,
The market was good back then.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
$152,000 wouldn't buy you a shack in today's
Well,
market.
that's it. Like, also, the housing market has inflated an insane amount on top of just how much money has inflated. Back to the story. So she started this project. Normally, when working on any kind of major home construction project, you would do what? If you wanted to redesign or add on to a house, what might you do?
Hire a fucking professional.
Yeah, like an architect.
Yeah, and have them change the.
Not be a
Fucking
50-year-old
plans.
woman and be like, I can do it.
Yeah. However, Sarah Winchester did not do this. She would draw up the designs herself and give them to contractors, sometimes changing plans nightly. Based on this, it is believed she held nightly seances where the spirits would commune to her what to build next to add on to the home. Again, that goes with the theory that she was trying to appease the spirits.
Yo, Casper, what kind of tile should I get for my bathroom?
You mean you want carpet in the bathroom? Well, the ghost said he wanted it, and I'm not about to roll the dice on it giving me diseases.
If a ghost wants shag carpet in the bathroom, the ghost is getting shag carpet
Speaking
in the
of,
bathroom.
you know what? This is on topic, shag carpet and bathroom. My uncle, Jeremy, who is part of the Team Hoosiers and everything, when I was a kid, he had a trailer that was out, I want to say near Winona Lake. He had a fuzzy toilet seat. It was a toilet seat that was fuzzy, like almost like a shag carpet on the toilet seat.
Like, was it just a cover?
It was the toilet seat. It was fuzzy, like a shag type carpet
See-
thing. And I was like, as a kid, I was like, this is cool. But as an adult, I'm like, that is not a good design.
Yeah,
exactly.
How
Like,
much
that's-
bacteria is like stuck in there? I think that's how you get the anal tuberculosis.
Might be.
That is
Uncle Jeremy,
exactly-
get checked.
That is exactly the order of thoughts when you see a fuzzy toilet seat. Man, that's awesome. You never have to worry about a cold toilet seat. I bet that's really comfy. And then you think, oh my God.
Yeah, you're like, I'm sitting on. What am I sitting on? Why am I hearing coughing? Oh, but once again, away from that, everybody feel free to judge Jeremy.
We'll have to ask him about that next time we get together.
What were you thinking? And where the fuck did you buy that?
Have you ever contracted anal
It
tuberculosis?
was like, it was the early 90s. Everything had the option to be shag carpet.
So, one tower she had constructed was tore down and restarted over 30 times before she was satisfied and allowed it to remain standing.
Okay, as a carpenter, okay, are you jazzed about this? Because she's paying them all.
Oh, yeah.
But are you like, you're like, lady, if I tear this tower down one more time because Casper told you he don't like it, you're gonna hire a new carpenter.
I think it comes down to if you want one of two types of people. You're either the person who's totally proud about their work and is frustrated that you're having to restart, or you're happy you're getting paid time and material.
How many of those carpenters I bet retired after that job with her, just because they could money wise and they wanted to after dealing
and
with
here's
her
the
for 30
thing.
years.
Oh, yeah.
This is California in the early 19th century. There's not a lot of cities. So they're probably not importing a lot of lumber from places. So they're having to go out and chop those trees down.
So the woods are getting farther and farther away from everything.
Actually, something interesting about this as well. All this is happening like during a time where you're getting this major transition, where we're moving from an era in time where there's a town builder and he's building everything in town to a time where we have architects and contractors that are building stuff. So with a lot of this story, there's a lot of stuff that we see that it's all kind of a side effect of a changing of era, and that we're moving from we're just moving away. We're in the area of Reconstruction. We're moving away from the Civil War, and we're starting to see this major industrialization start to happen.
I want to know if she was one of those, like, I'd be interested in the building plans, knowing if she was one of those ladies that was like importing specific wood. She was like, this room's gonna be cypress.
I need Brazilian rosewood.
She is exactly.
I knew
one
she'd
of
be that
those
kind of
people.
person. I'd haunt her too.
Yeah, the grand ballroom in this house, I think, is made up of 30-something different woods. Yeah, it is. But I mean, this is what a lot of rich people did.
That's what
They
rich people still
imported
do to this day.
Things that, yeah, exactly. Like they were not afraid to spend money on the things that they liked. So alternatively, some speculate that she did this to keep the spirits confused. If they don't know the plan up front, if she changes it nightly, they won't be able to keep up and keeps the house confusing. They're trying to get her. Although I'd buy more into the whole trying to appease the spirits than trying to confuse the spirits. Because everything I know about ghosts, it doesn't matter the shape of your house.
Well, yeah, it's like the laws of, like, what I never got as like the option that like gas stations have to lock the doors if somebody's trying to rob them. And like, why would you want to piss off the thing that's in there with you? You want to confuse the ghost? I imagine they're already pretty confused.
And my question is, all right, why is she thinking that this land is infested with ghosts?
No, she doesn't think it's infested with ghosts. The lore of it is that
She's
the
being
ghosts are
haunted by the ghost.
pissed at her because her husband made the most efficient weapon to his date.
So this isn't I goofed up and I bought a haunted property. This is they are chasing me.
Yeah, they hate our lineage because you've got dead natives, you've got dead soldiers, you've got dead everybody, and they're all like, I wouldn't be dead if somebody wouldn't maximize carnage with this repeating rifle.
Yeah, they're just like stupid white woman.
Yeah, so basically, like
going through and making we're gonna make her remodel her house 1,000,000 times.
Yeah, well, basically, it's like it's playing a game of Marco Polo with Ghost. You're like, okay, well, if I put this stairway over there, they'll know I'm upstairs, but they won't know what fucking stairs to get me. Like, you just hear Ghost bumping the walls at night, like, son of a bitch!
All right, so let's discuss some of the details of the Winchester estate. The house consists of 160 rooms,
Jesus,
40 bedrooms, 10,000 windows, 2,000 doors, and 2 whole basements.
You have 2 basements.
The house was also one of the first homes of California to contain elevators,
What you got to?
indoor plumbing, including hot and cold water.
Hold up. You make all these stairs to confuse Ghost. What is it? Ass just gets on the elevator. You can't make like goofy ass elevators, right? I would be pissed though if that elevator leads up to like I'm gonna go to floor 5 and it gets to floor 5 and it opens up to just a wall and you're just like, oh no.
I did work at a theater before where there was two elevators. No, there wasn't. There was a single elevator in the building, and that elevator would not bring you to the 6th or the 4th floor. There was no 6th or 4th floor on the elevator.
I thought you were about to say there was no 6th
They
or
were
4th
only
floor. I was like, no.
they were only accessible. There was actually 2 4th floors, one on each side of the building, and they were not connected. So you had to take stairs to get to those. And if you want to get to the 6th floor, you had to take an elevator up to the 5th floor and then go up another set of stairs to go to the 6th floor.
Get
That reminds
convoluted.
me that we have a house out here in Montclair Estates, which is our area.
Who's we?
We, as in our area, there is a house.
The collective we, Matthew.
Yes, there's a house in our area where if we ever get a trouble call at this house, we have been told that we need at least 3 techs to go out there, including a supervisor, simply because this house has about 200 bedrooms and it has a node unto itself for the house, which a node is used to feed 300 customers.
And now you know.
So who lives in this house?
I have no idea other than that he has a lot of fuck you money.
It has like confused ghost levels. Fuck you, money.
Yeah.
Apparently so. So one other thing this house had was central heat,
Ooh, fancy.
making
In
it
California?
making it
She's an old white woman.
making it one of the most technologically advanced homes, if not the most, in San Jose, California at the time, and probably all of California.
With heating technology being what it was back then, heating that massive house with all that convoluted shit, the fucking math that they would have to do to adequately do that, that suck.
Well, she hired essentially one of the
guy that invented central heating?
Yeah, the name in central heating at the time is who she hired to make it happen.
I imagine there was multiple furnaces throughout that building.
Had to be.
In order
Well,
to
2
do that.
basements.
Yeah.
I would assume.
How do you do 2? You know what? Leave it alone. Is it a sub basement? Does the basement have a basement, or is it 2 side by side basements?
I imagine it's 2 unconnected basements that just as the house began to sprawl, they added a second basement.
What did you say? 200 rooms in this house?
160.
Can you imagine she's already like 20 years into this, and she's talking to the guy that builds her house, and she's like, you know what we need? And he's like, what, another room? And she's like, 2nd basement. And he's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Well, also, think about how much property this house has to take up. So it's like, I don't think you just build one massive basement.
Who builds 2? You know what? I'll let it go. Just go. Continue. I'm letting it go. Fucking 2 basements.
Now, here are some stranger details about the home. Not all of those 2,000 doors can be entered. One, for example,
2,000 doors.
One, for example, leads to an 8-foot drop straight down into a sink in a lower floor kitchen.
What?
Another door will reward you with a 15-foot drop into the garden below.
I want statistics on how many people have fallen into a fucking sink at that house.
You know what
that's back then. Like sinks were like cast iron sinks and shit.
Yeah.
That is an unpleasant journey.
I'll tell you what, that is a crazy surprise bath.
You know what? I think someone needs to hold just a massive rager here. Just get a bunch of frat bros drunk and see who stumbles up where.
Yeah, then you're gonna end up with new spirits in that fucking place haunting and dead frat boys that fell 15 feet to a cast iron sink.
Considering who owns it, you might be able to book it for a party if you throw enough money at them. But okay, so there are staircases that lead to dead ends with stairs only, and the stairs of these staircases are only a couple inches high. The house is lined with beautiful stained glass windows, with many left unused and retained in storage. And actually, this is an interesting bit about these windows. They're worth a lot of money.
I was about to say,
Yeah, they're stained glass.
I wonder how much it would
And
cost to buy an original Winchester stained glass that was never
The
used.
stained glass that is in storage is actually one of the largest collections of some of the stained glass produced during this time. And it's amazing that it was kept in such good
I
shape.
bet you Zach Baggins owns one. I bet you.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me.
They're like, we've got all these stained glass windows we never use. And he'd be like, I got Baggins money. Name a price.
And there are said to be many secret passageways throughout the house. Although I could not find any specific descriptions on any specific passage.
Probably fucking passageways that the guy that owns it doesn't even know about.
I will say, if we ever get the chance, we need to check this place out. It sounds dope. My wife took a tour of the house many years ago when she lived in California. She said it was a really cool place. She was the first person to inform me. It was one of the first places with indoor plumbing in California.
And, we'll put on our road trip to like unsolved mystery places, the Winchester House and the place that makes fuzzy toilet seats.
I hope
We'll have to interview one of the prominent victims of these fuzzy toilets.
Plot twist, and we find out it's the same place. Both of them are like, what the fuck?
I want to go to this fuzzy toilet factory, and I hope they just have a side of number of victims.
Oh God, listeners, good, I got through. Listen, I have very little time to tell you about this because I think I'm being watched. But lean closer, a little closer. I want to tell you about a new subscription crate. It's called Cryptid Crate, and it is an awesome monthly subscription box that covers everything cryptid. I'm talking from the Fresno Nightcrawler to the Mantis Men of New Jersey. They give you all sorts of cool things like t-shirts, challenge coins, literature, and stickers. Some say really, really rad stickers. But listen, head on over to boxmountainllc.com, and when you go to checkout, use the code NEW SUBSCRIPTION for $5 off. And don't tell them I sent you. Hell, don't mention me at all. All right? Let's get back to the podcast. Remember, you never heard from me.
Now, what I did, I went to the current website for the Winchester Mystery House, and I decided to pull some of their room descriptions. So these are directly from the Sarah Winchester Mystery House website. Sarah's bedroom. Sarah Winchester's main bedroom in the Winchester Mystery House is a favorite stop on the mansion tour. From the original Leuncrusta Walton wall covering to ornate ceilings perfectly preserved after nearly 97 years of tours. Sarah passed away in this room in her sleep in 1922 at the age of 83. Spoiler. Sarah relocated to this room after getting trapped inside of the Daisy bedroom during the 1906 earthquake. Spoiler. One legend says that Sarah felt the earthquake was a warning from the spirits that she had spent too much money on the front section of the house.
Because that's what they're agitated about. They're like, you're spending too much money on the front section. What about the second basement?
It's like the spirits were really keen on that second basement.
No, that's statistics
Well,
for her.
she was getting her design plans from the spirits, so shouldn't it be the spirits' fault?
They're
that
like,
the
what do you
front of the
mean I'm
house is
spending too
missing?"
much money on it? It was you. Now, on the spec sheet to her bedroom, does it say if she had a fuzzy toilet seat in her bathroom?
No, it does not, but I can only imagine,
I would assume
right?
so.
Like,
the most luxurious.
they're such a hot commodity.
Yeah.
I hear they're endorsed by Jeremy.
Yep. I think it was black and white too. I think it was like fuzzy black and white.
Oh, man.
Oh, it wasn't originally black.
I'm surprised the white stayed white. So now let's meander on to the Grand Ballroom. The Grand Ballroom in the Winchester Mystery House is the most expensive room in the house. The construction cost more than $9,000 when it was built in the late 1800s.
Wow.
About 3.5 times the cost of an entire home during that time.
Son of a bitch.
Millions of guests over the years have raved over the many detailed instances of 13, the famous shakes. I'm sorry. This is putting this in a weird way, but instances of 13. So they say that she was obsessed with the number 13, including 13 candles on chandeliers and added 13 instances of 13 all over the house. Also in this room is a famous Shakespearean quote on the mantle. And I apologize. I meant to write that down, and I totally...
Build your own adventure, listeners. You get out there, you Google it, you can find it.
Specifically, the quote is from Troilus and Cressida and Richard II, and the haunting tale of the safe hidden behind multiple layers. Not only is this one of the most well-preserved rooms in the house, it also inspired the ballroom design at Disney's Haunted Mansion ride.
Oh.
Fun fact. Now let's find our way to the Witch's Cap. Once referred to as an important room to Sarah Winchester by world-renowned psychic medium James von Prague, the Witch's Cap had its doors opened on the Explore More tour in 2017, famous for its alleged paranormal activity and the odd shape. The Witch's Cap is a popular favorite amongst guests. Some staff members and guests have refused entry into this room, claiming a high amount of spiritual energy. Crowded feelings from an unusually shaped room or paranormal happenings? You'll have to answer that for yourself. And lastly, on this website-provided tour of the house, I give you the Seance Room. What many consider to be the heart of the mansion, the Seance Room was once a very private and off-limits room to everyone but Sarah Winchester herself. Legends say that nearby residents heard the bell tower located outside of the Seance Room at midnight and again at 2 a.m. Was this to summon and release spirits to communicate with them? There is one entrance to this room and 3 exits. One exit is through an entrance door. Another leads to an 8-foot drop.
What is up with
Into
her?
the kitchen below.
Good lord.
And the final is a one-way door that resembles a secret passageway. You'll have to come see for yourself what lies on the other side.
You know, what this has reminded me of is like the ridiculous house designs they have in like Silent Hill, Resident Evil, Alone in the Dark. It's like, you know, people don't actually build houses like this. But then you hear this story, it's like, you know what? Those games aren't too far off of base.
Just random ass drops.
Oh yeah, the house was incredibly meandering, and the layout of rooms didn't make much sense. And I'll provide, in the description for this episode, I will provide a link to a 3D map of the house so that you listeners can see for yourselves just how confusing this house is. Sarah Winchester was widely considered by her neighbors and California residents to be a recluse, greedy curmudgeon.
Curmudgeon.
I don't hear that word a lot.
Yeah, she never attended events she had been invited to, and never invited neighbors over to her house. She even refused President Theodore Roosevelt when he requested a visit to the house.
Nowadays, they would just call her an introvert.
Yeah. Many speculate that she never left due to fear of the spirits, or that she had gone crazy and believed she was being haunted. To this day, many refer to her as the conscience of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, believing that her grief over the many people who have been killed by those weapons led her to this insanity. Sarah Winchester passed away on September 5th of 1922 of heart failure. At that point, her fortune had been severely diminished. Many assumed to the constant renovations on her estate. The estate was passed on to her sister, Marion L. Marriott, who auctioned off the house and land. The land.
Wait, now
Marriott?
Is she
As
having
in
ties
Marriott
to the hotels?
hotels?
I could not tell you.
That'd be interesting to figure out.
Let
Not
me
a common
see.
name you hear, but
You said Miriam Marriott?
Yes, Marion, Marian, Marriott.
Yeah, looks like it might be the same woman. Or let's see, history, Marriott Hotel. All right, meet our founder. Apparently, it was founded in 1927 by a J. Willard Marriott and his wife, Alice Sheets Marriott. I bet I mean, it's all rich people. I bet she's related.
Yeah, that's how it works. All right, let's get back to
Very
it.
possible. Who auctioned off her house and land. The land was then purchased by John and Mame Brown, who turned the house into a tourist attraction, opening up for tours just 6 months after Sarah Winchester's death.
Her sister fucking flipped that land quick as shit, didn't she?
Well, her sister also had a house that was purchased for her by Sarah Winchester already, a large home.
Not that big, I promise you.
No, not that big.
But I guess you don't want a house that has many drop-offs to jack shit.
Yeah, it was still a mansion at the time and a very nice home. And also, at the beginning of the book I read, the author does mention that they're based on the descriptions of Sarah Winchester, she probably would have been surprised that they never tore the house down after she died.
She thought they were just going to bulldoze it. She's like, why do it? Like, oh, they're going to tear it down.
Well, we'll get into some speculation here in a few minutes. But the house is now titled the Winchester Mystery House, and you can take tours today. They do nighttime flashlight tours as well as daytime and special events.
Hold up. That is fucking dangerous as shit to have flashlight tours of that house. You're going to have somebody rolling around with a flashlight and you just hear a door open and you're going to hear, ah! Boom! Like, what was that sound? That was the sound of a 120-pound guy hitting a fucking sink.
Those doors have been permanently sealed.
Fair enough.
Oh, that's no fun.
Oh, that's what it is.
The supernatural did not stop with Sarah Winchester's death. Employees and guests of the estate often report sighting supernatural phenomena, including cold spots, shadows, silhouettes of people in windows, and a prominent apparition named Clyde.
Bingo. I got Clive.
Clyde.
Oh.
You're almost funny.
Clyde was a worker who had died on the estate and is often reported seen with a wheelbarrow full of ash or coal, or he is seen working on a fireplace.
That sucks. He has to work even when he's dead. That blows.
He got the raw deal on that contract. In 1924, Harry Houdini even visited the Winchester estate as part of his tour debunking mystics and spiritual stories. Despite trying to dispel the stories of the supernatural at the Winchester house, he left with only more questions and further popularized the mystery of the house.
I want to look into that a little bit more because I don't know how many people knows about Houdini, but like he was serious against people who claimed it.
Oh, he had a vendetta.
He liked to professionally shit on people who claim to see supernatural
he
stuff.
hated psychics. He hated all ghost stories. I think
this may be the first time we hear from Houdini. I doubt it'll be the last time throughout this podcast that we will hear from Houdini.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see him pop up in some more stories in the
Personally,
future.
we'll hear from Houdini.
Yeah. We'll perform a seance and call him up.
Ooh, it's me, Houdini.
I was wrong.
Turns out ghosts real.
Now, as with all true stories, there is always another side. I said a lot of this was based on speculation, so let me provide some facts based on the Sarah L. Winchester biography, Captive of the Labyrinth, written by Mary Jo Egnoff, who pieced the story together using correspondence between Sarah and her lawyer Rob Lieb, and letters between Sarah and her sisters and other family members that had been donated by her nephews to various museums. Some truth about Sarah Winchester was that she was in fact an incredibly intelligent woman who had not let her heartache slow her down. After her daughter Annie passed away in 1866, and she had moved in with her mother and father-in-law, during this time she studied multiple subjects: interior design, construction management, real estate investment, and financial strategy. And throughout the rest of her life, she would go on to make multiple very wise financial investments that helped maintain her fortune. All skills she would employ throughout the rest of her life. When William Winchester passed, it is said that she had visited the psychic, as we discussed earlier. However, there is no supporting evidence of this. This is part of that speculation. There is, however, correspondence between her and her doctor, recommending she find an involving hobby and new surroundings in a better climate. A better climate, particularly to help her rheumatoid arthritis, which she was a sufferer from. If you don't know about rheumatoid arthritis, in areas where it's particularly rainy and cold, it can become very unpleasant.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
So the thought of moving out west, where we discussed has a much more pleasant climate, could very well be part of her rheumatoid arthritis could very well be a part of that decision. Yeah, the cold weather of New Haven, Connecticut led to a lot of pain on Sarah's part. Also at the time, pamphlets were circulating convincing people to move out west. One of the big selling points was the mild climate. It is very likely that she may have seen one of these papers, and that mixed with her doctor's recommendations and fond memories of her first trip out west with William led her to decide to make the move once more. She did not move alone, though. She was actually accompanied by her 2 sisters and their families when she relocated to California, whom she regularly had over and visited with. Their kids growing up with fond memories of visiting their Aunt Sarah's house. Although locals saw her as an antisocial and recluse, she was actually quite social with her family, employees, and work partners, even buying those who worked under her homes of their own. She also employed a significant amount of Chinese workers, which there was a lot of anti-Chinese sentiment at that time. And she shows evidence of being very progressive in terms of employing minorities out west. The hobby she found herself getting fully involved in was, of course, construction and house design, her house becoming the canvas for which she painted her ideas. So based on this biography, it seems to me that the house wasn't necessarily something she was trying to ever finish, but something for her to just continually work on.
Yeah, just grow her skills and try new things.
Exactly. So she would spend...
Sounds like a rich woman hobby.
Yeah.
Well, it was. It was her
She
hobby.
would spend a lot of her time studying construction techniques and new construction technologies, and then drawing up her own plans, and then giving them setting the contractors to work.
You know, imagine all the houses she built. You know what this room needs? A 10-foot drop into a metal sink.
When she finished or modified a design, she would pass it along to her workers, often going back and redrawing up the plans after realizing something wouldn't work or did not live up to her expectations. If something wasn't right, she would have it tore down and rebuilt to new designs after learning more about what would work structurally.
Can you imagine the 15-foot drop to the sink was her just being like, well, instead of walking the dishes downstairs, how about you just drop? And then it's just the first go, it shatters everything. And she was like, that's a negative. But, you live and learn.
In letters to her family, she would often lament the difficulty she would have on certain projects. One project in particular being a drywall project, where this led to the idea for that in central heating, was that she'd had the drywall put up, and then because of the humidity or because of the heat, it would cause cracking and things to go wrong. This is kind of early drywall projects, and she had sent in letters frustration about dealing with this and having to have it redone just to have it mess up again, and then finding the way to do it right. She spoke about these challenges that she dealt with regularly in her letters and correspondence. One of the common threads of the supernatural mythos around Sarah Winchester is that she had the house under constant construction for 38 years. In reality, she often put off work during winter months and times of extreme heat. She would also delay construction for months at times as her health would fluctuate. So when she was in worse health, she would send all the workers away.
Hell yeah, her health is
recover.
fluctuating. She had fucking arthritis so bad she had to move, and then she built a house with 2,000 fucking doorknobs.
Yeah.
It could not have been helping, but and then there's 3 more doors ahead of you just to get to your room.
Also, the house did not remain under construction for 38 years. It was actually only under construction between the years of 1886 and 1906, when California was devastated by
20 years?
Yes, only 20 years.
Oh, not 38.
When
20.
California was devastated by a massive 7.9 magnitude earthquake. So let's take a step back for a moment. Earlier, while discussing the features of the house, I mentioned the doors and stairways leading to nowhere. Well, the earthquake of 1906 offers an explanation for this as well. Before the earthquake, the house did in fact feature upper floors and various rooms that had existed before the earthquake. The earthquake had mass devastation across California, including to the Winchester House, destroying upper floors, destroying certain rooms. The damage to the estate was widespread, and yet due to Sarah Winchester's plan for a floating foundation, the house was actually in much better shape than most other buildings in the area, or even across California. However, Sarah Winchester was so disappointed in the failure of her designs, she discontinued any more work on the home. She had just enough repairs done that the house was structurally stable, paired walls to the destroyed rooms, but never rebuilding those rooms or floors. Thus, doors that lead to drops, stairways that lead to nowhere. At this point, she even tried selling the home a couple of times without it going through because she actually had another property to live in, which was a very nice houseboat in the San Francisco Bay.
The exact opposite of what she's living in.
Yeah.
Convoluted giant fucking house to the houseboat.
So how do these rumors about the occult start with Sarah? Well, a big part was that she was in fact very reclusive from people outside her family. Although she developed meaningful relationships, she kept most people away, even refusing President Theodore Roosevelt the visit through her state. This lack of contact mixed with her fame based on her relationship with the Winchester Rifle Company created a lot of reason to speculate. She likely just did not care for most people, and she suffered from severe arthritis as well as had several missing teeth. This left her not wanting to be seen, and when she would venture out, she would wear a black veil to cover her face. Another factor of the rumors was it was civilizing of the time. So this was a point where we were getting away from the Wild West, and we were becoming a more industrialized nation. And despite how people feel about guns today, there was actually a very large anti-gun sentiment growing in the U.S. at the time. Guns were increasingly frowned upon as being uncivilized, and the idea that Sarah Winchester felt any kind of remorse was likely just a projection of the sentiment. The last bit of info that makes the supernatural aspect of the Winchester house a hard pill to swallow is the people who bought the house. John and Mame Brown. At the time, John Brown was a well-known roller coaster designer and amusement park entrepreneur. The speed at which he purchased the house and turned it around for ghost tours leads me to wonder how much was intentionally played up to drive tourism. But even with that, there are still a lot of questions and things that we can't prove one way or another about the house. There's still, like Harry Houdini's visit, for example, how it left so many questions. There's still a lot of mysticism about the house that even the facts about Sarah's life can't shake, but it does tell us when you learn about the actual history, how much is being played up for the sake of money making on the house.
Yeah.
So that is my story.
Well, yeah, it could be like I said. It's definitely notably played up, and like her involvement with the cult is definitely played up. But like you said, there is the Houdini stuff. There is the sightings that other people have, and just because it might not have been all the ghosts that wanted to get her because of this. There could still be the guy that died on the grounds.
Oh yeah,
there's a museum like we talked about before.
Yeah, I tried to pull some information on the museum, and I couldn't find anything in the time that I spent searching on it, and I didn't want to go on too far of a deep dive trying to find that.
There's a Winchester Museum on grounds that has weapons that killed people, and people think that those are tied to spirits too.
And it is a known, older white woman who has a lot of money. She is well known, a lot of notoriety.
Yeah.
And so people are going to come up with rumors about her since she's such a recluse. Like,
this is also a time when spiritualism is very popular. It's a very common thing for rich people to go and do seances. There are people in her family that they base the origin of certain things that they created, such as a Stanford College in California was started based on a seance that a offshoot of her family had attended. When they say that she was like curmudgeon and that she was very greedy and stuff, that's how she appeared, because very much at the time, if you had money, you donated money to a lot of causes. And so causes would request money from rich individuals at the time. She always refused. Yeah. But if there was a cause that she actually believed in, she would refuse publicly, but then she would have her lawyer, Roy Lieb, send them money anonymously or through other means,
because that
to
was
support those
something
causes.
that was popularized from Rockefeller, because Rockefeller opened up a lot of orphanages, a lot of firehouses, a lot of
and so it was a
libraries.
common gender role at the time that wealthy women would do this, which she tried to avoid this perception of herself, so she would do it anonymously. One thing she spent a lot of money on was a hospital for tuberculosis treatments. She spent hundreds of thousands of dollars
fighting the good fight
on this facility, and her lawyer one day wrote her a letter saying, I'm obviously paraphrasing here because I didn't write it down, but essentially saying, nobody knows about this amazing thing that you're doing, So let me, on behalf of everybody, thank you for what you were doing. If there was something that haunted her, it was tuberculosis. And she put a lot of money in her husband's memory to fight that. And eventually it came out that she had, while she was still alive, it came out that she was the one that was donating to this tuberculosis facility. And so they let her dedicate it to her husband.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was a very, very beautiful story.
Fun fact, Stephen King's book, Rose Red, also the miniseries, was based off of that house. And they even made one of the spirits have the scary decrepit hand.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Everything. But it was based on that house with the speculation of the ever-growing and even when it stopped, the house never stopped growing. That's something that we need to watch together, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's a great miniseries. Haunted me as a child.
I gotta say, like, first of all, when I started looking into this, I had heard the stories and I really wanted to dive more into the supernatural aspect. But then I found myself completely fascinated by the actual story of Sarah Winchester and what led her to head out there and everything that kind of counters the supernatural stuff. It's all just a very fascinating story of a woman who tragedy struck her family, and she found a project that kept her busy, that kept her feeling close to her husband. And yeah, it's just fantastic. Any final thoughts before we wrap this episode up?
No, it just this, like, when we started this, we said that we would talk about all things cryptid, creepy, and paranormal, and we would talk about given the facts, if it doesn't seem like it's legit, like, we would be open to talk about the stuff that could debunk it, or if the fact outweighs the fiction,
Oh, yeah.
And this is one of those cases. This is one of these places that, like, a lot of ghost hunters and stuff glorify as, like, super haunted, and they just lean into what is very clearly not the stone cold facts, and they just talk about it like it is facts. They talk about, like, it is guaranteed that she was an occultist. It is guaranteed that she did these and did this because of this, when that's not the truth.
Oh, yeah.
That just leads in people believing or forcing themselves to believe what benefits them.
Yeah, I've always said what I like about magic isn't the trick. It's how the trick was performed. And this is very much one of those things where it's less about the haunt and more about the story behind the haunt. And that's why I decided to go ahead and, even though I was essentially debunking my own story, I found it to be interesting
It's
enough.
good to
still
hear from
present.
both sides. One thing I do want to mention too, because we've been talking about TB.
Do you have TB?
No. But a lot of people don't actually know this, but the U.S. does have a major tuberculosis problem. It is still a major issue, and that people should look into and possibly donate to some charities to help fight it, because it especially affects poor communities.
I think that wraps it up for this week's episode of the United States of Paranormal. Thanks for coming with us on this spooky ride. Remember, listeners, if you cough and you don't know where it came from, good luck and Godspeed. This is Logan signing off.
This is Matt signing off.
Boze.
Good night, everybody.